Okay, are we all there? Can we start?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, let's see. Let's start. So like I told you, we will be starting with this first question which I indicated to you. It's not a question really, just an exhibit. Now what it says is, now this is a typical manufacturing oriented job cost card, right? How the costs are going to be accumulated, and typical information is there. It may be available in soft copy form, but this is what it is, right? So you can see, so this is the East Lake Motorboat Company, and you can see there's a job number, right? And there's a delivery date, starting date, completed date, or the date and the timeline control is there, and the customer, who is a customer, and you can see description. So the specific job has the whatever the requirement, like when you go to a tailor, he gets all the styles and all that. They cut up part of the fabric and they whatever the paste there, staple there, all that, just like that. This particular job, the description is that it says 118 feet, 18-foot runabout, mahogany hull, 75 horsepower, whatever, deluxe interior, cream, maroon, all that is there. Apart from that, there's a there can be drawing as well. So this is basically the job description. And then you can see, whenever you issue material, see, whenever you issue material from the warehouse, you have the date, material requisition number, and then how much of material has been issued, right? So altogether, you can trace it back, and you can see altogether by the time they completed this job, they have used $15,485 worth of material. These are material costs through the requisition. And then labor, there will be different people who will be working on this project. So you have the labor report number, depending on the employee number or whatever. So this particular person has worked 16 hours, another person has worked 15 hours, another person has worked 8 hours, 10 hours, like that. You have your time, whatever the recording mechanism, through which how many hours they have worked, and then how much is the cost. So this is the labor cost that has been charged to this particular job. So material cost of so much, labor cost of so much, and in this case, they don't have a separate direct expense, anything like that. Let us say this is a very specialized, racing boat or something like that, and you hire a special consultant to provide some performance input. So then there will be a direct expense component also, but here it is not so. And then you can see manufacturing overhead absorb 5.5 per direct labor hour. So this is the overhead absorption method that they have, 5.5 per direct labor hour. So 16 hours into 5.588, 10 hours into 5.555, 15 hours into 5.5 is 2.5, like that, altogether 2,170. This is a manufacturing overhead, right? And then on top of that, this you may have now you can see direct material is so much, direct labor is so much, manufacturing overhead is so much, the full cost is so much. And then on top of this, you may have either margin or whatever the markup, whatever they add, if there is a cost-based pricing, and then they will be doing the pricing here, that will be the price. So basically, this is the whole thing, the complete thing that we were discussing. You see the complete picture when it comes to the job costing scenario. Is that clear? Okay, right.
Yes.
So now, right. Okay, good. So now I'll give you another 2 minutes to go through this. This is a same scenario, but not a manufacturing organization. It is a service organization. Just take 2 minutes and see whether you can grasp this. Just take 2 minutes and go through this quickly. Okay, if you look at this example, again, a very simple one where they say client design works, engagement, installation of billing system linked to the existing general ledger program. So this is the thing, installation of the billing system linked to the existing GL program. So this is the job, right? Completely service. And then you can say there are consultants. So this labor equivalent is a manpower here. So there is a reference, there's a date, and the name of the consultant who has done this work, how many hours, and what is the rate of payment, right? And then, so you have that, and then basically this will be the total manpower cost. The implementation consultant's cost is $2,782. This is the total cost. And apart from that, other billable items, right? Other billable items is other directly traceable items, right? To this particular implementation. So there is a SQA software, which is $1,800, and SQA training manual, it is another $125. So altogether, this is the 5,993.85. This is the total direct cost, right? Total direct cost. And then they say their overhead absorption is 20% of the consultant salary is considered as overhead. So the consultant salary is 2,700, and 20% of that is whatever that they have charged here. So altogether, their total cost is going to be 9,332. Okay, so that is a simple service organization where you trace manpower, and then here, of course, something similar to material. But then if there are other traveling or whatever the data expense, the other direct expenses, all of that, and you absorb the amount of overheads, right? So that is that. Now, thirdly, now let us take this example now. You can take a couple of minutes to go through this, and then we will do this. This, of course, we need to do a working. It's about a consulting company. Okay, so let's try to do this together. Now you have gone through it already. This is an accounting firm that provides audit, tax, and accounting services to medium-sized retail companies. So they provide audit and tax services to retail companies. It employs 50 professionals. So as we go through, I will note it down. They have 50 professionals, right? 10 partners and 40 associates. So out of them, 10 partners and 40 associates. That is what you have, 10 partners and 40 associates, right?
Kapila, are you sharing a sheet or something? We are still seeing the PDF.
One moment. Do you see the worksheet now?
Yes.
Right, sorry. So we have 50, sorry about that, 50 professionals, out of which 10 partners and 40 associates. This is the combination who work directly with clients. So they work directly with clients. So which is, when you say directly work with clients, so it is something that can be directly billed to the, probably billed to the clients, right? Client, the average expected total compensation per professional for the year is 115. So average expected compensation for professional is 115,000. So 115,000 is a compensation per professional, right? This is a compensation average, right? The services of the company are in high demand, and each personnel works for clients to the maximum 1,600 billable hours. So each person works maximum 1,600 billable hours. So this is the number of dollars that is their cost, and their hours is 1,600 hours. 1,600 billable hours. This is the time that they. What do you think? This is the, what is the period? This for month or for year? 1,600
I
hours.
assume it to be years.
Yeah. So, yeah, 208 or whatever. Yeah, this is the hours, right? And all professional salaries are traced to individual client service summaries. So all the professionals, whatever the professionals, this is partner and associate salaries are traced to the individual client service summaries. So you are going to trace it to the individual client service, whatever the document. All the costs other than professional salaries are included in a single indirect cost pool for professional support. So other than, now here I can say it's a simple consulting company, but other than the consultants, whatever the professional salaries, everything else is put into a single cost pool. That is the professional support service. It is the overhead base actually. Everything else is considered as overhead, right? The indirect costs are assigned to service summaries using professional hours as the collection base. So the indirect cost, basically, indirect costs based on the professional hours, right? Expected amount of the indirect cost is 5 million. Okay, so that is what you have. Budget amount is 5 million. This is the information that is given to us, right? Now, based on this, if you want to do a quick computation, compute the budgeted indirect cost rate per hour of professional service. Budgeted indirect cost rate per professional hour. Can you calculate now? You can calculate on now on. Budgeted indirect cost rate per professional hour. Just give me a minute. Okay, so this is what we are told. So how much is the budget? Let's do the calculation together. How much is the budget indirect cost?
5 million.
I believe.
5 million. And budgeted professional hours?
1,600 into 50.
Exactly, 1,600 into 50. That's it. So then indirect cost rate is very straightforward.
62.5.
Yeah, is divided by this 62.5.
Yeah.
62.5, that is what it is. Then they say, this is only just to get the concept, right? This company is bidding on tax and audit service for a potential client that are expected to require 100 hours of professional service time. Calculate the estimated cost of the work using average professional wage rate and basing the indirect cost on estimated service time. So they are bidding for a 100 professional service job. So you have been asked to calculate the estimated cost of the work using average professional wage rate and basing the indirect cost on the estimated service time. So then, what are the costs that you're going to charge?
Per hour
So our rate.
rate, which is
Yeah, how much is that?
115,000 divided by 1,600.
Rate will be this much. And on how many hours are we going to charge?
100 hours.
100 hours at the rate of 100 hours. So provisional charge will be, so therefore 71.85 multiplied by 100. So this is the 7,187. This is what it is, right?
Yeah.
And then what you will have is then indirect
Per
cost.
hour overhead cost. Yeah.
Yeah.
Per hour overhead cost divided by the multiplied by 100. So that is 62.5 multiplied by 100.
Exactly. So you have 62.5 and the number of hours 100, right? So which is again 6,250. That is what you have here. What else do they say? Okay, so basically this is it, not a complicated scenario here, an absolutely simple scenario. So the total cost of the job would be
13,437. This becomes 6,250 and then they both together.
yes. So you have 13,437. This is what it will be, right? Now, so no complications. It's a very straightforward calculation. Now tell me, now say you visualize the scenario. So they have 50 people, right? Out of them 10 are partners, 40 are associates. And average salary is 115,000. Overhead base is 5 million. And hourly rate they are using. Now this is the final outcome that you get, that they get. Now can you tell me, in this situation, let us say, now this is like what? This rate depend when you consider the different overhead absorption rates we were discussing, what type of rate is this? We had the plant-wide rate.
Plant-wide.
It's like a
Plant-wide.
Organization.
sorry. Yeah, Inoka, you were trying to say something.
Organization wide rate.
Yeah, organization wide or the plant-wide rate. If it was a per unit rate, what would they have used? Not a plant-wide rate. If it was a per unit rate, then how would they have done the calculation? This is a plant-wide rate. If it is a per unit rate,
then it will have to be based on the number of jobs they do.
Exactly, number of jobs, because their job is a simple, straightforward job. What did they say? Their job is audit and tax services. So they do filing, right? Yeah, audit and tax services. So therefore, if that is the case, what would they do? Now, they are not dividing, they are not considering depending on the number of hours here. They will see for a month, what is the number of, what is the number of whatever the consultancies they would do. So the 5 million overhead base, they divide by the number of consultancies, 1,000 or whatever. And then they have a consultancy per consultancy overhead amount, right? And then just like this, they can take the direct cost, right? And then thereafter, they will be added the overhead component, and then you can look at the final cost and the final. So that is the first scenario. But then what is wrong there? What is the problem there? If they divided equally by all the jobs?
Different jobs may take different hours.
Yeah.
It's not a equitable method.
Yeah. One can be a very small company with less complications. Another one is a large company, a quoted company, where it can be different. So therefore, consumption, the time consumption in terms of overhead, burden on the overhead will be different. So that is not considered. So therefore, this seems to be a better scenario, right? This seems to be better approach to do this. Now, if you look at this data, can you tell me, will there be even better method that you can use? How you think you can improve this further? You have, if I tell you that there are so many diverse types of clients that you have, whose the nature of the service, even though it's the same filing, whatever the tax service, the amount of work that has to be done could substantially vary. And the nature of the complexities also will vary depending on the type of customer. So then what other changes would you make to this?
Differentiate between, sorry,
Go ahead.
differentiate between the time used by the partners and the other guys.
Exactly. So that is number one. First thing that you can do is certain jobs may be very straightforward job, but there's a lot of volume to be done. In that case, the partner's time will be limited for those jobs, but the lower level people, associates time will be lot more associates time will be consumed. So therefore, in terms of the professional cost, it could be the amount that should be charged will vary. There can be certain other jobs, the volume is very little, but there's a lot of thinking to be done. Partner's time has to be there. So obviously, in terms of the professional cost, so then those jobs will have to be more expensive. So then what you need to do is, like you correctly said, the professional cost, rather than getting an average of this, probably you may find that the partner's cost is say 175,000, associate average cost is maybe 25,000. So there can be a drastic difference between the average cost of a partner versus the average cost of an associate, right? So then that is not captured in the current, whatever the costing method. So therefore you can, like you suggested, you can go to the detail and then you charge depending on the partner's time and associate time separately. That will give us a better solution. If you want to improve even further, what else can you do?
Break down that common cost pool into direct costs that can be easily attributable to these individual jobs. For instance, one client may reside at a faraway place, so therefore traveling costs for that job will be higher. Right now, everything is other than these professional fees are in a common pool. So if you can break down the common pool also into more between direct and indirect, filter it down further, I think then it will be more accurate.
Yeah. More than the direct and indirect, but your point is right. But whether you try and see whether you can identify more cost drivers here. Let us say, yes, out of this 5 million, what are the most highest contributory costs, and whether you can find different cost drivers. Let us say communication can be the substantial communication cost. You can separate the communication cost, and then the clients whose work has say a lot of overseas communications, etc., can be charged more. Or else some other clients will have a lot of traveling, right? So then the traveling costs, and then the traveling cost, if the traveling cost can be separated, and then you will be doing is you separate the traveling cost and you may charge the traveling cost depending on the traveling extent of traveling involved on each and every relating to each and every job. So like that you can do it. So that is one way. So therefore that is going further into the details. Some sort of an activity, you try to identify the activities within this cost pool and try to go into activity level sort of absorption when you try to do that. And something in between, another thing you can probably do is, like if your traveling costs, etc., is not substantial, but let us say it is a consultancy office where the people are there, they are seated, and the clients will come and get the service. Still, when you look at this 5 million cost, so then this cost can be relating to the infrastructure, the office space, their communication costs, their computer depreciation, their normal day-to-day traveling, vehicle benefits, like that, lots of other overhead component can come in. So if you analyze this overhead further, and then you may see this overhead very broadly, you can identify at least the infrastructure and certain benefit related costs. Part of this overhead is relating to the professionals, maybe a major part because they have big offices and better furniture and more high-end computers and all these devices and the vehicle facilities and all that. So the overhead component relating to the professionals can be very high, whereas the others, the juniors, associates, they may be seated in a relatively less compact office spaces, and they may be using very basic computers or no computers, no traveling allowances, nothing. So their cost base can be smaller. So therefore, what Delmer suggested is go further into the highest level, go to sort of activity level breakdown of this 5 million cost, but something in between, probably something which can be a bit more straightforward, would be identify the breakdown of this 5 million to see that what proportion is to have the consultant, the partners in place, and what proportion is to keep the associates in place. So you separate that, and thereafter you may, instead of having a same budgeted professional hour rate, you may have a, say for example, 3.5 million is for the is the overhead relating to the partners, and 1.5 million can be the overhead related to the associate, something like this. If you have this breakdown, and then you may have probably the partners, since they have only 10 partners, 10 into 1,600 will be the partner hours. And in this case, since you have 40 associates, 40 into 1,600 is the number of associates. This is the number of hours, probably, say out of this total, whatever the number of hours, right? Out of 80,000 hours, 64,000 hours is from the associates, 16,000 hours from the partners, but the cost base of the partners is high, in which case, so your overhead rate for partners related overhead will be probably 218. That is related to the associate related overhead base. The cost is low, the hours are more, only 23. You get it? So then it will be completely different. Completely different in the sense, this cost will also be different if we have the breakdown, what is the actual cost of the partners and the actual cost of the whatever the associates. And more than that, overhead component also, let us say for this thing, simplicity, let us assume 50 hours is for partners and the balance 50 hours for associates. And if you have a differential rate, so this 50 hours you'll be charging at not 50, let us say different scenario, otherwise you will not see any difference. Let us say 20 hours there and 80 hours there, something like this. If that is the case, these 20 hours will absorb at the rate of 218, and this 80 hours will be absorbed at the rate of 23. When you add the two, overhead absorbed will be, okay, here it came to be the same, but it will not be same. So like that, so there can be difference in between the amount of overhead that is going to be charged. It can be different. So the point here is that, get the point. So we can have differentiated rate, like departmental rate. For partners related to which we can have one rate, and associate related scenario, we can have a different rate, so that even the not only the direct cost, overhead component also will vary depending on the type of resources involved. So that can be more accurate. So like that, if all the tax returns are charged at the same rate, it will be a per unit rate. Now what we have done here is a uniform plant-wide rate. And what I was just suggesting is we can have a departmental equivalent rate. And what Delmer suggested was something like an activity-based rate. So depending on the method that you adopt, the final equation, the bidding that you get can be completely different. Sometimes a very simple cost filing, you can give a very cheap price and get a lot of people attracted. At the same time, high level, whatever the value, partner value providing project, you will have to charge more so that you get the value for that type of job. All that can be done if you have the proper costing system. So now I think you get an idea, depending on the system that we adopt, our final outcome, our decisions, and then operational impact will be completely different. Anything that you want to share on this? Is the idea clear?
Yeah, Kapila, sorry, Nalaka, are you going to talk?
No, no,
Go ahead, go ahead.
I'm fine. I'm fine. I said I'm fine.
No, just thinking about your budget airline scenario, which you explained, Kapila. I was thinking the same approach can be done here also, right? Rather than because each client's job may be different. So let's say you are dealing with a tax related issue, you have a special rate or a cost allocation model for tax related advice. Or if it is just year-end accounting one, or it could be a specialized job. Let's say, so similar approach can be taken here also, right? Where
Yeah,
you
that
actually,
is also possible. Yeah, that is again, we may go, that is going even one step further. Like what we suggested here is that the professionals and the partners, this 115,000, rather than taking an average salary, we take the partner's salary as a higher salary, whatever the higher rate, and then the associate salary at a different rate. That is one thing. And then, like I said, we can go one step further. Even the partners, let us say the tax partner is the most highest paid partner, whereas some other normal account filing partner is not that expensive person. A situation like that. So yes, and then similarly, associates also, the associates that who do very routine clerical work, their rate may be lower. And then those who do a bit more value-adding intelligent work, so then their rates may be higher. So therefore, if we can say that there is a relationship, say tax filing would require high-quality partners and low-quality associates, whereas account filing part, relatively lower quality partners, but more high-quality associates, for example. If that is the case, yes, if we see a difference like this, we can go even that level differently, so that at that level we can charge. So we will be having like say more competitive, sort of more transparent and more competitive pricing. We can do it actually. Yes, that's true. Everything will depend on like say how complex the operation is, and whether you, like you suggested, whether you see these traces, and that's number 2, and number 3, whether we can economically find the information to do a proper charging. That is the other thing. Sometimes the system may be very logical, but if that information is not available, or it's going to be very costly to find that information, then also it may not be feasible. So other than that, yes, what you suggest is perfectly right. So we can go further and further and make better decisions. Okay, right. And one more question before we move on. We speak of the terms margin and markup. Okay. I'm sure you heard, and now some of you know this term very well, but just take probably a couple of minutes to illustrate this for those who are not familiar with the field. Now, if I say that our margin is 20%, this company, they keep a margin of, markup of 20% to start with. What would be the markup? What would be the price they charge? If the particular company keeps a markup of 20%, how would it happen? What would be the markup and what is the price charge? Okay, I will give you both and I'll give 3 minutes to think. Second one is they have a 20% markup margin. They have 20% margin, not markup, right? So then what is the price they charge? Okay, I need 2 minutes out, But just think through, right? This is the cost, this is the same. 20% margin markup, what would be the price? 20% margin, what would be the price? Just do your calculation. And for those who are not familiar, let's have a 2-3 minutes discussion after that. Okay. Yes, if it is a 20% markup, what could be the price markup? What would be the price?
16,125.
Okay, is the price, right?
Yeah.
So how you do that? Okay, our cost is, sorry. Our cost is so much. On that cost, you are going to add the 20% markup. Okay, so which means, sorry, the price will be 16,125. Okay, and if it is a 20% margin, what would be the price?
16,779.
Okay, how do you do that? If it is a
I-
20, yeah,
Sorry.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I actually, because I cannot remember the formula, what I did, I ran a goal seek.
All right, okay.
I just put any number and worked out the resulting margin and then ran a goal seek to make that margin 20%. But there's a formula which I forget.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
So is it that you take the cost as 80% and then you add 20% onto it?
yeah, exactly.
Then you take it as 100, sorry.
Correct.
Like-
correct.
Yeah,
That's it.
exactly. So when you say, when you express a markup, always a markup is expressed as a percentage of your cost, markup on the cost. When you express a margin, margin is expressed as a percentage of your selling price. So yes, okay, you're right. So you start with this. So then you will be having 100 is your selling price, a margin of 20. So that means you will having 20 here, and which means our cost is 80. So this is the equation. So 100 is the selling price, margin of 20 is your margin, you have 20 here and 80 there. So then now you can compare our cost, which we already know is 80. So then what is 20? Or what we know 80, and then what is 100? So let's do it this way. So sorry, margin will be then, we'll calculate the margin. Margin will be, if this is 80, what would be the 20? 3,300, which means if you do it this way, that is if you first calculate the margin and bringing it, so then 13,000 is plus 3,300, sorry,
Should be plus.
plus 16,796. So this is it. That is if we calculate this figure first and then proceed. On the other hand, you could do the other way around as well. So you could calculate the price straight away. How you do that? If 13,000
Cost divided by 1 minus
13,475 divided by 80 multiplied by 100.
so then 16,796. So that way also you will get the answer, same answer differently. So then you are starting the computation here, and then you can find. This is, yeah, same, right? Correct. So it's those who know it's very simple, but those who do not know it, so you see the difference. Markup always added percentage added to your cost, and margin is a percentage expressed as a selling price or the sales revenue. And generally, same markup or margin percentage, when you add a markup, since it is that 20% is coming on the cost, your selling price is relatively lower. But when you say a 20% margin, since it is expressed in the percentage of the turnover, then your margin component will be higher. That's it. Okay.
So which one is used most commonly, margin or markup?
I think no, both terms are used, but when it comes to the retail and the trading setup, most of the time you speak of margin because you speak of margins. What I have seen. But when it comes from manufacturing point of view, when you look at, you always speak in terms of markup, but then again, it could vary actually. Okay. Right. If you don't have any other question, let's move on with the next computation.
So one more thing.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Now in most of the sales organization, when it comes to commission calculations and all, they always look at this margin because it is added to the revenue.
You said added to the.
Now you said margin is the addition of the sales price. So they, based on that addition or the value addition which they create, only the commissions and everything will be defined. So why in the sense this markup is used then?
Why? No, markup, probably the reason could be that, say, when you want to see, like, say, from a controlling or management decision-making point of view, you know that this is the cost that we incur to do a product. So to get a product, and then when you have the cost there, and then just to see that on cost, so people tend to think that forward direction mostly. If I buy this at this price, and I must have a profit of so much on top of this, and then I'm selling at this price. So I think that is the way the more frequently people will be thinking in that forward direction. It costs me so much, and I should have a profit of so much. So therefore, I'll be adding that percentage, whatever the 20% or 10%, and selling at this price. But then again, when you say I must have a profit of so much, it is very subjective. For my mind, adding a profit of 20% may be on the cost, but your mind having a 20% may be 20% on selling price. It's very, very subjective. Actually, there is no rule to differentiate this the way I understand it. Anyone else, if you have a different view?
Yeah, I think I mean, another way of looking at it is when you have the opportunity to charge whatever you want on your cost, then you can think of going for a markup. But in certain industries, you have a market price. So then you have to, it's worthwhile looking at the margin rather than, because you are anyway blocked at the selling price level, right? But in certain things, you can charge, let's say customer order a specific product. You say, okay, these are my costs. And as a result of that, this is my selling price.
Yeah, that also sounds logical actually. When you have control over what you do, so then markup could be make more sense, but when you don't have that much control over and you go by what is happening around, so then margin is something resultant. Like, so that also makes sense. That also can be a reason, actually, way of looking at it.
I think two data points are used for different decision making. One is, I think, the markup is used to price a product, whilst the margins are used for more management purposes to understand, what sort of, which product gives which sort of margin, sort of a thing. I guess that's my sort of take up.
That is also that also is another way of thinking it. More management oriented. Yes. Again, like, so there is no hard and fast rule as such, but yes, they are all valid, different but valid ways of looking at the situation.
So what if we put like that, as I don't know who has said that one. So he is telling costing or the pricing strategy.
Was it Shehan who spoke?
Yes, Shehan, not Jehan.
Yeah.
Do I go as Jehan still?
No,
Shehan.
Shehan. Yeah, go ahead.
I changed my name.
Yes.
It's Shehan now, right? It's okay. It used to be, my iPad used to be under my son's name, so I changed it. Now it's
Sir,
Yeah.
please go ahead. Please. You're trying to...
Now, shall we take it as a point for pricing strategies for a product which is manufactured, or from a transfer price, we take it up as markup, and for the revenue purpose and to understand the income or the profit, we take it as margin for a product if you get.
You can, that you can think it that way, Sajan, but at the end of the day, yes, depending, it can be in those circumstances, it is more likely that in those circumstances, you will look at from those definitions. But then again, there is no, like, say, it is very subjective. The way you look at can be very subjective, but what you say makes sense most of the time, for most of the people. But then again, the way of thinking could be different. I don't want to put that as a rule as such.
No, this is a gray area, sir, where we used to fight in the table a lot actually. The marketeers used to say, when they get up the markup, they used to say, they get a higher commission because the markup value is always higher than the margin value. So management, when the sale completed, management look at only the margin. They don't look at the markup actually. For them pay commissions and all those things. Sorry, I'm taking a bit time because this is a area where we always use the marketeers and the management used to fight a lot for the commissions.
I think the best thing is that, okay, we will again come to that from a different perspective, right? There is an example that I won't discuss. What you say is correct. Like, say, from if I was the finance person, I will definitely go by what the accounting people are saying, because then we will get more from the organization side. But most importantly, what we need to look at is more than this. Finally, when you set a product, when you sell a product, what is most important is our return on investment, right? Our return on investment. So therefore, this calculation, apart from this margin or markup, we will have an investment that goes into this particular product. So what we need to look at is, from this particular product range or from this particular operation, there has to be a particular ROI that the organization wants, or the minimum threshold ROI and a desired ROI. So therefore, we will be looking at that and under ROI based pricing. So therefore, whatever the way you express that, it is a matter of the way you're expressing it. But we will look at how you bring the ROI into the equation. So therefore, whatever the term that we use, we will ensure that the desired level of ROI is available to the organization. That is the right way to look at, Sajan. We'll look at that later.
So please go ahead.
Yeah, got it right. So the most important thing from the organization is that basically running this operation, having this, what is the ROI that is generated? Is it a worthwhile thing or not a worthwhile thing? So therefore, that is the ideal logical point rather than the way you look at the things. We will come definitely not next lecture, with the next 2 lectures, we'll be looking at that as well. Anyway, good that I now understand for you it mattered a lot, because that depends on that decides a lot of important things in your organization. Right, good. So let's move ahead with this. From this example, let's try to switch to the next example. So we have completed these three. Others are also simple example, but it may probably provide us some insight. So shall we take a look at this? The first example that we had, it's about an airline. You can take 3-4 minutes and take a quick look at this. And then let's discuss this together. You can read it and you can do your own computations. Okay, now if we read this together now quickly, Paradise Air is a small airline company located in the Florida Keys. The company provides transportation services to various Caribbean islands. Because Paradise Air competes directly with major carriers, controlling costs and setting appropriate fares are vital to the company's survival. Thus, the management is preparing an analysis to assist it in the understanding the cost of providing various services to customers. 5 categories of costs have been identified. So they have identified 5 categories of costs into ticketing, fuel, wage and maintenance, first class, whatever the onboard services, the coach class onboard services, and then baggage handling services. So these are the 5 categories of services that have been identified, right? And then managers at Paradise Air predicted the following costs and activity levels for the next month. So they have provided with you costs and the activity levels for the next month. Some parameters are given, but just leave it there. We leave the last para as well to see what more they are going to say about this before the parameters. Ticketing costs are assigned using cost per passenger basis. So now there are so many different types of costs that are there in this airline company. Now, what they say is ticketing costs are going to be assigned to the customers based on the per passenger, because ticketing operation, whether it is a coach class or whatever the economy class, whatever it is, the ticketing is the same procedure. So therefore, probably the driver for ticketing cost, what they say is the passengers, number of passengers is the driver, right? The number of passengers is the driver. And then fuel, wage and maintenance and other operating expenses are assigned using the cost per mile as the basis, right? So therefore, fuel, wage and maintenance will be based on the passenger miles, cost per mile based on the passenger miles. Okay. Baggage handling costs are assigned using the number of baggage times baggage is transferred. So baggage handling is baggage transfers. Number of times the baggage is transferred. Finally, the cost of in-flight services, including food, beverages, and other amenities were estimated for each class of service. So therefore, that is, of course, first class services will depend on the first class service passengers, and then the coach class, whatever the services, it will be based on the coach class passengers. So basically, very broadly speaking, we have identified the activities here, and then the cost drivers here, right? This is what we have identified. And then having said that, now if you go through the details, managers at this company has predicted the following costs and the activities. Ticketing related cost is 10,000. So now we can note it down. Cost. Let us say in dollars. Ticketing related cost is 10,000. Ticketing related cost is 10,000. Coach class passengers 1,500. First class passengers 500. Right? First class passengers 500. Coach class 1,500. So altogether, the number of passengers therefore will be 2,000. Right? That is what you have here. Okay, we can call them cost driver so these are the cost driver units. Okay, and then baggage handling cost is 9,000 pounds. Baggage handling cost is 9,000 pounds. And number of baggage transfers 3,000. Number of baggage transfers is 3,000. first class in-flight services cost is 25,000. Coach class in-flight services 15,000. So this is the information given to us. The cost driver units, both are given. Assume that management at Paradise Air, I'm reading what is there in this small print. Assume that managers at Paradise had conducted a long-term study and determined that the cost to be 1.5 per passenger miles, right? So this with regard to the fuel wage maintenance. So this is, they have conducted apparently a long-term study and they have found out when all these costs taken together, it looks like probably they are semi-variable costs, but the average cost is 1.5 per passenger mile, right? This is what they have found, right? So this is like using this regression method or something like that over a long period, what is the mileage travel and how much is the cost? So they have analyzed it together. And after analyzing that, they have come up with an equation to say that approximately this will be, so therefore the fuel wage and maintenance cost will be 1.5 per passenger mile. We can say that cost rate or whatever in dollars, right? So this will be 1.5 per passenger mile. This is the information which is given to us. Any questions on this? Are we clear? Is it all good? Or you need any clarifications?
This is fine.
Others, anyone else having any doubts requiring any clarifications?
Fine.
Right, okay. Let's move forward then. So this is what we have here. Now the requirement will be describe the product delivered by Paradise Air. How to describe the product?
Service.
So it is a service, but if you elaborate that, what would you say? How would you define the service? What
Can you say
Activity based.
No, base is right. Now, point is what is the product? The nature of the
Yeah.
business, how do you explain the product?
can you say providing air travel to a passenger, including ticketing, flight services, and baggage handling?
Exactly. So providing air travel to a passenger from point to point air travel, which includes the flight services, ticketing, obviously, and then whatever the baggage transfer. So that is the product. So that's when it comes to service. Now these are there are components that we charge. There are components that we do not charge, but we need to identify the product that we are going to charge. So here they have defined their product like this. So that is why they have come up with these different activities. So that is the product, right? Then having said that, now we can go there, calculate the cost of providing first class service to a passenger who requires 2 baggage transfers and travel 200 miles. Passenger requiring 2 baggage transfers and travel 200 miles is a first class passenger. So if that is the case, right? So now we need to identify what do we have to do now? Tell me.
Identify the services given to the first class passenger, like the ticketing, how much would it be for the 200 miles, then the first class services, etc.
Yeah, okay, right, okay. His whatever the service combination, whatever the combination of this product that Rajiv has explained, what is the combination that he has conceived? That is one thing. And then that is one part of it. But even before that, we need to do, that is one of the things that we need. The second thing that we need is what is the cost of providing this? That is the other thing, cost rates. Now say ticketing has cost us 10,000. This is to offer 2,000 tickets to 2,000 customers. So therefore, per passenger ticketing cost is divided by this will be 5 per passenger. This is what happens with regard to the ticketing. Every passenger, if the cost will be so much, $5 per passenger, right? Because the cost driver is the number of passengers. Fuel, wage, and maintenance is nothing to do with the passenger. It is per mile, per passenger mile that is there. Then what is the cost of providing first class services? $25,000 to provide services to 500 passengers, right? Let us say first class passenger, it costs us $50. Whereas coach class, it is going to cost us 1,500, 15,000 for 1,500. So then economy cars, it will be 10, right? And then finally, baggage handling.
You don't need the economy class, right? You don't need to calculate the economy class. You don't need to calculate the economy class, right?
No. For this particular one, no. Just as a complete illustration, I just want to show you. And then finally, baggage handling. This divided by per transfer. Right, so this is what we do. So these are the different activities involved: cost driver units and the cost per cost driver. Right, and then when you have that, now very straightforward. Now what we need to do is, I can say activity consumption, and then the cost charged. Activity consumption and the cost charge. So that is the next thing. So if you just quickly do it, what is activity consumption ticketing? This particular customer, what is activity consumption level?
1.
Passenger miles?
200.
200.
First class passenger unit?
1.
Coach class?
0.
And then the baggage handling?
2.
So this is what we have. So now it's straight away, this will be the cost. Per ticket, issuing a ticket will cost them 5. So it's only one customer. Per passenger mile, it costs us 1.5. So when you have 200 passenger miles, it will be $300. First class customer, being meals and everything, it's going to cost another 50. And then coach class passenger, nothing. And then the two transfers, it will be 6. So when you put everything together,
$341.
361. This is what it is. Right? So as far as the numerical computation is concerned, it's not a complicated one at all. But then what our objective is to see this being applied in a different type of organization, how it happens. That is the whole objective. And then, you know, how this concept of how ABC concept is going to be applied in a different type of organization. Are we okay?
Yes.
Right, done. And then we have another 8 minutes left. We should be able to do this other computation. Is even more straightforward computation. So shall we take a look at that as well? Just read quickly the balance computation. again, this is also no numerical complication, but again, a different perspective. Now it says, Bill Watts awoke with an intense pain in his side after 9/11 call. He was transported to the emergency room at Lodi Community Hospital, where he underwent a surgery for a ruptured appendix. Surgical procedure required 30 minutes. His hospital stay lasted 3 days, one of which was classified as acute level 2. The following information has been retrieved from the Lodi Community Hospital's cost information system. Right? So this is a cost information system has given you some information. What is it? Acuity level 1 nursing, it will be costing acuity level 1 costing, it will be costing 350 per day. Acuity level 2 nursing, it is costing us 400 per day. Food services costing 65 per day. Operating room 450. Half an hour. Laundry 35 per day. Emergency room admission 250 per admission. Emergency medical transportation 300, let us say, to incident. So basically these are the cost drivers they use. Okay, and once you have that, then you have been asked to calculate basically, they have a markup of 20%. What is the amount of bills invoice? So they have explained to you what has happened to him. Based on that, we need to look at cost driver units consumed. We need to figure out the cost driver unit consumed in this case, and then basically cost to be charged. So this is what we are going to have. How many cost driver units here? Tell me. In his case, so now when you have this information, how many cost driver units do we have at level
7.
1?
First one 0, second one 1.
No. How many days he was there altogether?
Okay, 2 days.
Yeah, he was there for 3 days. 1 was level 2. So which means 1 was level 2, and the 3 days, other 2 days were level 1. Okay. And food services for how many days?
3 days.
Food services for 3 days. And operating room?
Half an hour, just 1.
So,
Based on the-
there's 450
Just
for half an hour. Starting in a half an hour intervals, 1. Laundry
3 days.
per day. So then it is again. Emergency admission?
1.
1.
1.
Been admitted as an emergency admission. And emergency transportation?
1.
So this is what has been absorbed, right? And then you can calculate cost to be charged. Basically, level 1 nursing will cost them 350 per day, and there are 2 days of services. And level 2 400 per day, and 1 day was classified as level 2, it's going to cost 400. Food services for 3 days, each day it's going to cost 65. For 3 days it is 195. And then operating room, 1/2 an hour, it's only half an hour of surgery, so it's going to cost them 450. Laundry, 350 per day, 35 per day into 3 is 105. Yes, there is an emergency admission, so therefore you have to charge the emergency admission fee. At the same time, there's an emergency transportation as well, so therefore emergency transportation cost also you have to be added. So this is how the cost is going to be accumulated to this bill. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes.
So which means when you add it all together, it will come to 1000. Okay. And then finally they have been told that markup of 20%. That is a pricing equation. Markup. %, right? Which means to this you are going to add 20%, which is 480. Okay. Sorry. This is going to be the amount to be charged. No. Not that one. So 2,880 is the amount to be charged. Are we okay? Hello?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so this is actually what it is. So the objective here is, again, these examples are not numerically complicated examples, but this shows us the application in, this is a health sector scenario, and this is airline scenario, like the different areas apart from, and here it is a consultancy type of organization. So this is basically what we intended to discuss today. So the objective of the discussion today was basically we had some sort of an insight to the different types of the approaches, very broadly the approaches that you may have when it goes to a product costing, right? And based on that, here the objective is to look at from a different perspective, different types of manufacturing and service organizations, how you do that application, right? And then beyond this, what we are going to do is, now we are going to look at again the a bit more theoretical and computationally, how do you do it under a traditional, we call it the department load absorption rate method, practically how it is done, like say basic numerical template I will share with you, an activity-based costing setup, how we do it, and then theoretically why activity-based approach is superior to the traditional method. That sort of things, numerical and theoretical combination will be what we are going to discuss in the next lecture, right? So basically now we have brought this to an end, and as far as your reading material is concerned, the chapter on that product costing related chapter, you can go through it, system design, job order costing, original book chapter 5, but just have a very light reading, right? Because out of this, like I told you, all these the costing flows and all that, this is only for your understanding and insight. You are not supposed to know the computational thing as examiner is concerned. Just have an idea of the different types of manufacturing service organizations and why is it is complicated to do something with service organization, which I'll explain again. I'll give you a quick note. And then this sort of computations will be enough. The others is for your broad understanding. Okay. So you can do is so therefore this chapter 5, you can very quickly, you can go through this chapter again, and then that will be fine. And the next week, we'll be having a more in detail discussion that is based on the original book, chapter 7. It will be more actually on activity-based costing related discussion. So that is what we are going to do in the next class.
So excuse me, Monday we have classes. I think it's a per day.
We do have a class on Monday, right? Yes, right. So that discussion actually we will be having on Monday. Yes. Thank you for reminding me. Anyway, Nipulika and Himal will remind me. Yes, we will have that lecture, because otherwise, without having these couple of lectures, we will not be able to catch up in the sense, cover whatever the syllabus requirement. So Monday we will have the class. So actually on Monday we will be discussing this.
Monday what time?
Normal timing, Nalaka. I think it was down your calendar. So it is 8 to 11 will be the financial modeling, and 11:30 to 2:30 will be the management accounting, the normal time slot.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks everyone.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy your weekend.
Yes, sir. Have a nice weekend.